So right now we're in an EPUB book. I'll show you what you can do when you're inside of a book. This is a bookmark indicator over here. I have bookmarked this page, a little gray dog ear. If you want to go forward or back a page, you can either type the little forward and backs down here with the stylus, or so much more easy is you just push the bar here. That's very fast page turn for e-ink. It's the fastest we've seen yet on an e-reader. If you want to use the menu, you tap down here, or if you can't find your stylus because you've already lost it, you're not in Deep To Do just yet. Tap the menu button right here, and then you can use the menu bar to also navigate. Anything you can do pretty much with the stylus, you can also do using a combination of these buttons here. It may be more expedient, obviously, to use the stylus, but you can get away with doing this. So let's take a look at adjusting the font size right here. Right now we're in the smallest font size. You have a choice between small, medium, large, and extra large. We'll go from small to medium. It reformats the page fairly quickly, and that's certainly very readable. And obviously you can get to much bigger point sizes, but probably most of us don't need something much bigger than this. If you want to add or delete a bookmark, there are menu items for that. If you want to search for a phrase in the book, there's find word, or you can find an entire phrase. I'll show you that for a minute so you can see the on-screen keyboard. Brings up a little on-screen keyboard. This is not resizable, but because the stylus and the Wacom tablet is so precise, you really don't need something really large. The interesting thing about this is it does a partial refresh of the ink display as you're typing, so sometimes the text that appears here is not exactly crisp and sharp. Nor does it keep up in terms of displaying. You can type fast if you want, but you need to make a correction. You tap where you want to be, and that's not very easy to do. Other things you can do are go to the table of contents if the book has one. This particular book actually does not have one, and miraculously, just like the Nook, there is no go-to page number, so you can't tell it to go to page 56. Gee. You want to rotate it? So there it is in landscape mode, and if you want to switch back, just hit rotate again. There's no 360-degree rotation, so you either have it with the push bar down at the bottom or on the left. So one of the things that I like about the IREX is you can put stuff where you want it. There's no hard and fast file structure here. You have books, news, images, personal documents, and you can put whatever you want, whatever folder you want. I mean, logically speaking, you're probably going to put books in the books folder and newspapers and magazines and news, but you can put whatever you want wherever you want it. So I'm going to take a look at the books interface again. You can choose by list or by cover view here, and you can jump to any letter of the alphabet by tapping on that letter. If there's a cover available, obviously you see the cover. Now we're going to take a look at newspapers. We have a few here. This one I downloaded directly to the device. This came from Newspaper Direct. This one I actually downloaded via the PC from Newspaper Direct and chose the output has the IREX format and copied it over USB. If you use your PC, then you're going to do it in EPUB format, whereas if you do it directly on the device using the eBook Mall on the device, you'll get it in Newspaper Direct format. So this one is a Newspaper Direct format. The features will vary from paper to paper. That's what you get. So here's a representation of the front page. This seems to be pretty much a graphic. It's not readable, but it's attractive looking, and it shows you the newspaper exactly as it looked. There's a plus sign here, and that means that you can click on the lead-in article here. The other articles did not have plus signs, but you can get to them via the table of contents feature. So I'll click on that plus sign, and there is the article. Go to the table of contents view, you can see a listing of articles. Pick one. And if we click here, we can see the article as it was laid out on the page. Right here. Now we're going to take a look at The Guardian. Again, this is EPUB format. This was transferred from the PC. And it remembers where I left off over here. There's an embedded table of contents here, an all pages view, and a page turn right here. Or you can go to the menu and view table of contents to get a text-based listing. Tap on any story you're interested in. It doesn't indicate that it's a link by underlining it, but Now this one has a more sophisticated layout here. This looks a little bit more like a newspaper. It's pretty nice with the big headings over here. The illustration from the newspaper, and this shows you right here where the article laid in the page in the original layout. So that's a quick look at Newspaper Direct service that's available on the IREX. Now we'll go to the mall, the ebook mall right here, so you can see where they came from. Now if you go to the desktop version of the ebook mall, you also see feedbooks and some other choices. I don't know if they're going to be adding it onto the device. I certainly hope so, especially those free sources like feedbooks. So you have a mobile optimized version of the Barnes & Noble website for shopping here. You can see categories for bestseller, new releases, fiction, featured book, search box. You can get your ebooks library here, manage your account, and so on. So we will just pick a book and take a look at it. So you can get your synopsis, your editorial reviews, all the content that's available on the Barnes & Noble website here. And if you want to get a free sample, you can just tap it here, and it'll send it down to the device. If you want to buy it now, you tap the Buy It Now button, and if you're not logged in, it's going to ask you to log in to the BNN account first, and then it goes to the device quite quickly over the Verizon connection, assuming you do have a good connection where you live. The help just gives you the manual for the device, which is pretty detailed. Recently added is nice. You can look at the things that you've downloaded most recently. Quicker way of getting to your content. It's new for IREX. Personal documents, I say I put my PDFs in here, so we're going to take a look at PDFs. The 8.1-inch display is actually very good for displaying PDFs. I thought the lack of zoom would be a big problem, but I find that with my just average vision, it's pretty readable for me to read the PDF, not zooming. So this is the original format view right here, so it looks just as the PDF does in the print version. Text is small but very clear and readable here. Obviously the illustrations are all intact. Now if we change the font size, we will mess up the layout, just as with most e-readers. Gone are the nice illustrations. You've just got the text, large and readable. And we'll rotate it to landscape view. It's not really any more readable because it's not expanding the PDF out. Sony really does a better job with that. In fact, we'll compare the same document on the Sony Reader Daily Edition. So here we're looking at the same exercise bike manual, same page on both devices. As you can see, this is very readable and clear. Small, but clear. This is really hard to read. So this is where the Sony zoom function comes in handy. Rather than changing the font size and blowing up the layout and killing the graphics, you can just do a zoom here. Takes it a bit of time to render, but you can do that, and then you can use the arrow keys to move around. Now zoom only works page by page on the Sony, so if we change to the next page, that zoom goes away and you have to re-zoom in again. So you can see this is a lot slower working with PDFs, which is interesting. We're going to rotate this now to landscape view. And here's where the Sony does a better job. As you can see, it reflows a document and fills up the screen so that you don't have giant margins and everything is bigger and easier to read. But again, this guy here is really quite readable without any of the zooming features. We'll take a look at the image viewer really quick. You can put JPEGs and GIFs and the like in here. There is no screensaver function on this. Like the Sony's, when it's done, it just turns off the display and blanks it, which is actually the best for not leaving ghosting on e-ink. I prefer that, but it would make a nice little grayscale digital photo frame, as you can see here. It's a pretty nice quality picture. I'm going to show you settings really quickly. We've got airplane mode here. You can adjust your margins all the way down to nothing. I know some of you really like to have absolutely no margins. You can do it with that. And it's not very disruptive because this bezel almost nearly matches the color of the page itself, so it doesn't seem like a very harsh thing when the margins are brought out to the very edge. You've got our Adobe ID you can put in here, your IREX account, the Barnes & Noble, as I mentioned. You can set the flip bar to be page advance and turn going your left or right is your preference. Time and date, status calibration. Device management just lets you wipe out your IDs basically. You can reset everything on here, you can deactivate accounts, you can format the SD card, and if you're having trouble with your 3G connection, you can reactivate it again. If you want to go back, you just tap up there. Device information just gives you some basic information about the device, and this is SD card information, which usually just has basic statistics. There's always a to home in every screen, so it's easy to get back to the home screen. Now this is a little custom hack here that I've added. Which gives you a folder view. This is very easy to do of your SD card. So if you crave some kind of organization, you want to create subfolders and work that way to get to your documents, you can do that. So we've got all the folders on the SD card here, and if I had created subfolders, it would show me those. So that's pretty nice, especially compared to something like the Kindle or the Nook that has just about no organizational structure whatsoever. As you can see here, we have a continue reading, and that's whatever book or even picture in this case that you were last reading, so you can quickly go back to that. So that's the IREX DR800 SG, or digital reader, 8.1-inch display e-ink reading device. This supports Adobe EPUB with and without DRM, so it works with Sony Bookstore books, Kobo books, and anybody else that sells standard Adobe DRM books. It works with library books. It also does PDFs with and without DRM. It does PDB books, which is what Barnes & Noble uses and e-reader uses, so if you have a legacy collection of those, it's a great reader for that. You can load those on using your USB cable if you have some old e-reader books. And it supports Newspaper Direct format as well. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website to read the full review.